All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy lunchtime, if that is the opportunity that you've taken to join today. Your host, Ron Klinger. Welcome to session number 2 of the Summer of Insights, the Lunch and Learn edition. Today, we're going to dial in your compass, how to maximize your insights discovery profile. So, this is a targeted presentation to anyone who has either been through training with me already. Historically, it could have been 2 years ago, could have been 2 months ago, could have been 6 years ago. But honored to have you with me, honored to be present and accounted for. And thank you for your time, your presence, and your participation today. Only folks who have received a profile from me at this time are being included in this journey. So there's a certain base of knowledge that I'm building off of. And the whole goal is to help you in your journey of effectiveness to reflect, connect, and discover, and to advance forward with success. So with that being said, I'm going to dance forward. The agenda for our session, this is a baptism by fire. So what you're going to get is a 20 minutes of content, power-packed information. Feel free to use the chat. I will be monitoring the chat here in the room. Today, we're going to cover our insights methodology, insights discovery, what's it about. We're talking about your insights profile, a little bit about the narrative, the data, the graphs, and then how do we take that awareness and turn that into action? So I'm going to go quick. I've got a lot of information to cover, but again, it is my hope that I'm building on a foundation that we've already had and that we've already created. And at the end, we'll leave 10 minutes for Q&A. So if you got questions that pop up, put them in the chat. I'll be sure to address them as I'm able. And if not, we'll cover them in the 10 minutes that we've got at the end and get you back and on your way. So first thing we're going to talk about, how do we dial in your compass? That compass is purposeful for direction. And so in order to do that, 2 things I want you to do. Hey, if you don't have something to write with or to write on, I really would encourage you to have something to do that. And then if you want to mark up, since we're talking specifically about the gift of having your insights discovery profile, please feel free to write into that. I'm going to have some pages that we're going to really highlight from. And that way you've got any notes or anything that we can do from today's session. So having something to write with will definitely help set you up for success. All right, so let's get started. Let's jump straight in. I'm going to do a mini, like 2-minute overview, right? And want to really talk about and highlight, I am passionate about using insights in my business. Those of you who have been a part of the journey, you know I'm bringing energy to what we're doing. I'm dressed with Mr. Sunshine Yellow, my little fire red, the little red whistle is along for the ride as well. The key to insights, just as a reminder, really is about how do you discover more about yourself so that you can learn about others, appreciate those differences, learn how we adapt and connect. How do we modify that behavior so that we can ultimately turn that learning and that awareness into action and a learning practice? Put in another way, more simplistically, how do we understand self? How do we take that awareness so we can better understand others? How do we adapt and connect? Create and develop those usable interpersonal strategies, which right now, my humble opinion, we need more than ever. Coming out of COVID, coming into the world that we're in today, returning to office, it's gotten messy. It's gotten murky. People and building significant relationships and those connections at work absolutely empower an organization to thrive and succeed through the power of its people. But if there's conflict, if there's things, insights can help to address communication styles, and if used effectively, can produce effective results that enable everyone to take action. That is the whole reason why we're here today. That's where I'm and why I'm so passionate about using insights in my business to truly help others be effective in what they do. So with that being said, I want to go and cover, this is one of the favorite things that I have. If you haven't heard of Viktor Frankl, he wrote the book, Man's Search for Meaning. And one of the things that he talked about is our success rides in between the space. So if you've got something to write on or write with, put these 2 circles down as a refresher, or maybe it's the first time you're seeing this. In the left, stimulus, and then we have response. And we go through this thousands of times a day, multiple ways, communication style, whatever the case might be. But we have multiple stimuli hitting us now more than ever. Right? We've got digital, we got social media, we got so many ways, email, text, phone calls, interpersonal relationships. And the key to our success is that response is only really going to be one of 3 things. And that stimulus and response, it'll either be a positive response. Hopefully it's not negative, but that is the option. Or it might actually be a neutral, like, not kind of sure where we're going. The key in this journey, and according to Viktor Frankl, is our success resides in that space, in between stimulus and response is our willingness to use the pause button. So how can we use that pause, managers as leaders in our interpersonal relationships? And my wife would probably tell you I could have probably used the pause button yesterday, right? Didn't engage it so well. So hey, I'm human as well, learning to practice, learning to do that on the daily. Even for those of us who have been doing this is a reminder, and it also serves as a reminder for me because it promotes awareness. Stimulus response. Do I need more information? Is there something else that's going on here? Wait a minute, that didn't resonate the way that I thought it was going to resonate. The key is, though, you have to be willing to use that pause button. It only works, the system only works if you're willing. But I will tell you, part of the key is that lens of being able to do that is utilizing the tools and the resource that is Insights Discovery. So with that being said, we're going to come back to this here at the end. Real mini quick overview on the color energies. Again, you've got the 4 color energies: fiery red, sunshine yellow, earth green, cool blue, right? That is how the language that is used, and reinforcing that we have a lead, we have a preference for. Not that we have little red, yellow, green, blue people running around in the world, but we have a preference for these particular color energies. This is a Jungian-based tool and assessment. So when we look at fiery red, competitive, demanding, determined, strong-willed, and purposeful. When we look at sunshine yellow, being sociable, dynamic, demonstrative, enthusiastic, and persuasive. Earth green, caring, encouraging, sharing, patient, and relaxed. And then lastly, rounding out with cool blue being cautious, precise, deliberate, questioning, and formal. Now, if you've gone through the training, you've understood, we go a deeper dive into this, so I'm not going to do a ton, but it's worth reminding, it's worth a refresher, because the best way to get to understand and utilize Insights as a tool in your toolkit for your personal success and your personal effectiveness is truly understanding the root that is each color energy. How does that represent? How does that show up? Because the reality is others leak the truth about themselves right in front of us. Do we have the lens? Are we able to see? Okay, now I can see. Are we able to see the truth that others are leaking about themselves so we can make a meaningful connection and meet them where they need to be met? Okay, and again, we go through that in the training. We've gone through that, but also have to recall that we're not black or white or even of 4 colors. We are a mix. And so let's get into that mix a little bit. And that starts with understanding our attitudes and our preferences. When we start looking at our preferences, again, refresher, we know that cool blue is the introverted thinker, right? We know that earth green is a combination of that introverted feeling preferences that we've got. Sunshine yellow is the extroverted feeler, and fiery red is the extroverted thinker. Again, these are Jungian preferences and our attitudes and functions as to how we show up. That introvert and extrovert is how we connect to the world. How do we get our energy? How do we show up? That thinking and feeling preference is truly boiled down to our analytical decision making. How do we make decisions? Do we go through, I go with my gut feeling and I go with that? Or do I do the pros, the cons, and the analysis? Not right, not wrong, there is. But when we understand those preferences are the underpin and the undertow to each of the color energies, it helps us to better make those connections, to better understand where others are coming from so that we can build those meaningful connections and relationships. So the last piece on this review, and I'll get a little bit more to the graph here of where we're going, like the Insights system is based upon the Insights wheel and the color dynamics. For purposes of today, we're going to dig into the color dynamics. Now you've got this. This is going to be probably the next to last page in your profile. I say the next to last page because some of you have a profile that has a foundation and a management chapter only. Some of you have the whole enchilada that has the whole 38, 39 page report and everything in between. But when we look at the color dynamics, this is a direction that comes out of the raw data for how you answer the assessment. Again, we have that conscious persona, how we chose to show up, that portrait, how we perceive or believe that we need to be present in a particular moment. So we're driving our actions, we're driving our behavior, right? This is where we're aware. We're making a conscious, hence the conscious persona. We're making a conscious decision as to how we show up. That less conscious persona, not to be confused with the unconscious. We don't want that. But that less conscious simply just means less aware, just being present in a moment, the candid you. Instead of showing up for a portrait where you know your photo's getting taken, this is the snapshot. This is just you living in your environment. Now, again, some people like to say, hey, if that conscious graph and that is me at work, or because that's how the profile asked you to answer, this is direct results of your data. The less conscious graph, well, guess what? That's not you at home. It could be that it's just simply you not thinking about how you show up. So the preference flow in the middle, as a mini reminder, is how am I dialing up each individual color energy, that if I'm not thinking about it and I'm being, what am I doing to drive that? So you will note in this particular example that cool blue has a particular tall uptick. That means for whatever reason, this is just a sample data set, that this data says to me, hey, what was that individual doing around the time they took the profile that required them to access that cool blue color energy, bringing in that data, bringing in that process, bringing in that systems? Is a project? Was it something that you had to show up and that's what was going on? So there's always a story with the preference flow. And that's where I don't have the answers, but I do have the questions, right? And then those questions are to help you to understand, how am I dialing in my color energies to be effective? And that's where the profile becomes a very powerful resource. Anytime that you took your profile, you would have a page that looks just like this. You'll have a date that's in your profile for when you took that. And so what I want to highlight with this and with that color dynamics, again, we talk about this in much of the training, that left side, that conscious persona, label that doing. That is your doing. That's, hey, I'm making a conscious decision as to how I show up. I made a conscious decision to put on Mr. Sunshine Yellow's shirt today. I make a conscious decision to bring the energy versus toning it down, right? So that's what I'm doing. The next piece that we have that's critical is when we look at that line of 3, if you haven't labeled it already in your profile, that is a line of inclined usage. What does that mean? That means those color energies that are above 3 in how you answered, right? You had most like you to least like you. 3 was a center point. So 3 or above, which would give you a score of 3, 4, 5, or 6, means you're going to be inclined to use that. So this example shows, hey, this person leads with earth green, followed by sunshine yellow and fiery red. They're going to be inclined to engage in those color energies and lead them forward and use them on a regular basis. When we look at that cool blue in this example, again, different chart, different graph, anything below that line, it doesn't mean you can't use it. It just means you're more reluctant for whatever reason. And again, this is the personal side of this profile that I love, because it unlocks the uniqueness of who we are and how we show up. Okay, so that's on that side. On the less conscious, again, that's the being. Hey, I'm just showing up. I'm just here, man. I'm not thinking about how I'm showing. I'm not meeting any expectations. I'm not trying to meet any perceptions. I'm just being present in the moment. And sometimes there's not a huge drastic change between one or the other. But also, we're human beings and we're dynamic. And sometimes, you know what? Life requires us, our work requires us to show up in a certain way. And that's where the power of this profile in this page really comes into play, that says, hey, if I understand my 4 color energies, what does my day look like? And I got some questions we'll process here shortly. So if you haven't labeled already, I would love for you to put this on that page as a reference so that you can constantly go back to it and make sure that you understand and know. It's kind of, I use the old analogy, back in the day before auto-tune, right? Those of us who love music, we used to have a thing called an equalizer, right? And we would get the tone of the music to jive the way we want, more bass, whatever, mid-range, whatever the case might be. Well, we're the same as human beings. The rhythm of life that we bring, we should bring the energy that mirrors what we need to be effective in doing. Case in point, I will never forget, I was asked to do, I love this story, I was asked to give a 7:30 a.m. breakfast keynote address years ago at a state conference, close to 300 people, 500 people, I forget how many were in the room at the time. I didn't get to up in Frisco, Dallas until 2 a.m. in the morning. Long story, had a long day, family duties, responsibilities, blah, blah, blah. Do you think I wanted to be Mr. Sunshine Yellow, tons of energy, after getting in at 2 o'clock in the morning and giving a presentation, a keynote address to kick off a breakfast at a conference at 7:30 in the morning? I got like 2 hours of sleep, okay? Let me tell you what happened. I was introduced, and the person that got up to the podium and said, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Energy is here. He's going to wake you up, so if you didn't have your coffee, you don't need it. And I literally said some choice words in my head because I didn't have a choice. The expectation and the bar was set. Now, fortunately for me, in the way they call them color energies, I feed off of that extroverted, my sunshine yellow, that extroverted environment. So when I got up there, I was able to feed off the audience, but it doesn't mean I didn't have to turn up and bring it. Even though it's my most preferred color energies, even though it's the one that I have led for the past 20 plus years of using this tool, I still had to manufacture that energy to be effective to meet what was expected of me at that moment. And I believe that we can all, if we sat down long enough around a table, we could all talk about, hey, let's talk about times where you knew you had to access an energy and it took energy from you to do it. And that's what that preference flow measures. How are you doing? What are you doing? Makes it an informed decision so that you can show up and be effective, meet others where they need to be met so you can produce effective outcomes. Now, what I'd like to do on this page is you've got the spider graph that's down below. What that is those are the data points for your numbers for in that conscious persona for where you ranked in your average score for each of those color energies. So the space inside that, that's kind of your comfort zone. The white areas out, those are blind spots, areas you're not aware. But I also like to make sure that I add that if you would put ET around that fiery red for the extroverted thinker, not ET phone home, but ET as far as extroverted thinker, sunshine yellow being that extroverted feeler, earth green be the introverted feeler, and cool blue. It's just a helpful resource because this page, I love all the narrative. I love everything that's in the profile. This page is probably the most impactful when you truly understand the color energies, what you're doing and how you need to show up. And then the profile reinforces that for you, gives you answers, allows you to have conversations. One of my favorite pages in the management chapter, and the entire profile is in the management chapter, and it's the ideal work environment. I love helping managers and leaders create environments where people thrive and succeed. But if a manager doesn't know how to create an ideal work environment, and the employee doesn't know how to have that conversation or ask for it, well, guess what I facilitate with the profile? How to have that conversation. It breaks it down so they can simply share profiles if willing, or we sit down and we have a conversation, say, hey, here are 8 to 10 bullets, depending upon how you answered and got your results, because your profile is unique to you. Here's what I really need to be successful. And when that partnership exists between a manager and a leader and their team members, and that environment is set up where an individual can absolutely thrive, that's why I love using this tool, because it helps to take the awkward, makes it simple. Makes it simple. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to dance on. Again, our key to success resides in that space between stimulus and response. If you're not familiar with Viktor Frankl, I highly encourage you to go read his book, Man's Search for Meaning. It's a story. He's a psychologist. He lived through as a prisoner in one of the Jewish concentration camps. His mental acuities is what allowed him to survive, and it was all stimulus and response. Our freedom is in that space for what we do and how we choose to do that. So very powerful message, great read that I would share with you, but that's where this comes from. And then my question for you is, before we get dialed down here, when you start thinking about the color energies, what color energy are you leading with today? I'm showing up Mr. Sunshine Yellow, and I'm also bringing a dose of that cool blue. And if you know anything about, wait a minute, what I just show you, sunshine yellow and cool blue, they're opposite color energies. So whenever I have to work out of my cool blue and access and bring that and utilize and engage that cool blue energy, I have to do it consciously because it's not natural for me. It's not that I can't do it. My fiery red, which is the extroverted thinker, can show up and engage that without a problem. But when I really got to do the data and I got to do the crunch, I better have the energy to do that. So for me, if I've got to lead with that cool blue, I'm doing my cool blue activities in the morning when I'm fresh. If you ask me to write or to engage in that data, details, process, systems without a human connection to it in the afternoon, I'm out. I am out cold. Not because I can't do it. I have to be primed and ready for it. So my awareness is, and that self-awareness to lead myself so that I can also lead others says, when does this activity, what does it need? How do I need to show up and when do I do that? And then what do your daily tasks tell you about how you need to show up? And that's really the power of what this profile is. When you go through it, I would encourage you to look at, hey, communication styles. If you had a misfire, well, guess what? Go look at your communication styles. And then in your profile, go look at connecting to your opposite type. It's an extremely powerful activity. And it may answer like, oh my gosh, I was talking to Ray the other day and I went one way and he went the other. And next thing I know, we had a misfire. And it wasn't because either of you are bad or it's we're human. And what you can do in using the profile and the contents is Don't let it be a file in your drawer. Don't let it sit on the shelf. Let it be an active tool that can help you have and unlock some of those aha moments when you start looking at what are my interactions with human beings and others. Managers and leaders, this is absolutely crucial to your role. The most senior leader I have ever met, I was at an HR event, and the CEO admitted he was absolutely wrong in everything that he did running his business. And he had to show up differently. Awareness is key, and insights helps to drive that awareness. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I literally just hit the clock. My alarm is going off precisely at 20 minutes. At this point in time, I'd like to open up the chat, open up any conversation or questions that you might have about your profile. I've got a question or two that's been sent to me by folks that couldn't attend, but I thought I would open up first to see if there are any questions that might be out there that could be put in the chat room. All right, nothing at this point in time. So let me do this. So one of the questions that came in, it literally was, Ron, I've got the profile and mine's kind of old. What should I do? So first of all, if you've got a profile and it's been a while that you've been through that, I can solve that. This is not a sales pitch. Just reach out directly to me. Why do I make that offer? Because sometimes when people, again, you go back to when you took your profile, one, it was a timestamp of what was going around or about you when you took it at that time, right? So it's that point of relativity. So when we start talking about that point of relativity, if that was 3 years ago and you've changed roles, you might have changed organizations, you're doing something, you're wearing a different hat. Boy, howdy do I love sharing an updated profile with you, right? You can talk about what that looks like because you already have a basis of awareness. And now you can be affirmed for how you're showing up, or you can be challenged as to say, how might I need to be showing up because I'm not in the same role. I am not in the same situation that I was in the past. So I would throw that out there. That's a question that came in because I've got people on this distribution list who took their training, who in their insights profile, some of them 5-10 years ago. So I want to make sure you're fresh. And if you want a profile, you need access to your profile and you maybe don't have it or you can't find it, please email me. I'll put my email in a moment. I can send you a soft copy. I can also give you the latest and greatest digital version if you wish. All right, got a question that came in from Ray in the chat. Appreciate it. What kind of company or person is best suited for this insights program? Everyone. I know that's an umbrella question. And the reason why I say it that way is because that self-awareness, I've been very fortunate to bring this into organizations directly via management and leadership training. And I've even got a video that's out on my website on the resources tab, Mariplex Transformed by Insights Discovery. It took over in a positive way like a virus. It was the one thing that manager said, I'd love to have my entire team, the entire organization have this tool. Why? Because it increases communication. It builds stronger relationships. It builds greater trust. And if you look at any literature out there across culture and dynamics or the 5 dysfunction of a team, anything that you can do that increases trust and communication is going to be a value add. And Insights does that in a great way. And it does it similar to some other tools. My humble opinion, every tool that's out there has its own value and its own ad. I have used Insights since 2004. Boy, howdy, I'm old. That's a long time ago. Why do I keep using it? Because it's my belief it's the best tool in the market. Why? Because it's the most detailed, it is the most accurate, and it is the easiest to understand and deploy and use. Because my experiences, not only does it help people in the workplace, I've had people tell me, oh my gosh, this helped me with my significant other. Oh, I've got a better communication with my kids. Why? Because they've been able to take that awareness of the color energies and not only apply it professionally, but also apply it to their personal breakthroughs and ahas and their personal journey. That's why I use it. That's why I'm an advocate for it. And that's why I'm doing the Summer of Insights, keeping Insights alive. The initial investment's been made by either you, your company, your organization. And I want you to be able to continue to access an amazing tool that can help you continue to be effective. All right. Any other questions that might be out there? I got one more in the bucket that came in. All right. So the other question is, hey, is there an age appropriateness? Because, hey, I've got a son or a daughter that's going through. This tool is a corporate tool. This tool is intended and utilized in a work environment. However, I have used it in coaching because part of the piece of that personal journey, I've used it with career decision making, right? And that could be someone who's trying to identify a career transition also. but specifically to the question, I don't provide this resource to anyone that's younger than a junior in high school. And the reason being is they don't have enough life experience to make the report relative. I can administer it, I just won't. Why? Because I want them to have some experience, some level of maturity, so they can actually filter the questions, filter the results in a way that's beneficial and helpful. I'm not out here to peddle a tool. I'm out here to give a tool that can help people on their trajectory of life and be successful. So it's great. It's great in the journey and the conversation that we have around careers. It fits my VIP formula of values, what's important to you, interest, what is it you have an interest in, personality. This takes care of the personality. It also hits some of the strengths, and I'll be completely transparent. I also use the Clifton Strengths Finder on the strengths and combine it with the Insights Discovery Profile, and I do that with managers and leaders as well. Why? Because on a personal level, on a leadership level, if you don't have self-awareness, if you can't lead and know thyself, how do you manage and lead others? So it's core to my business. It's core to what I do in my coaching. It's core to managers, and it's core also to those, and again, I would say about 17, 18 years old, young adults trying to launch to truly help them to get to understand themselves. All right, that being said, that's all I've got for today, unless there's any other burning questions. I want to thank you for your time, your presence, and your participation today. If you would like to get a more insight, pun intended, all right, I got 2 more summer sessions that are coming up. Session number 3 is going to be on the 8th of July. It's about communicating with clarity. Got another session on the 4th and final for the summer on July 22nd, and it's going to be about adapting, connecting. So we're going to talk about communication, but then we're also going to be specific in that 4th session. What are the cues and the clues that others are going to leak to us so that we can effectively adapt and connect our behavior to produce effective outcomes? So those are the 2 that are coming up. They'll keep being out there. You can go to motivationaltransitions.com or mtran.com. Click on the events tab. You can register. The links are there. Also can continue in the Keeping Insights Alive email lists. And then lastly, I will throw this out there. If you would like a soft copy, you can send an email to rklinger@mtran.com. And if you really want to, you send that to me. I'll also send a digital, brand new digital version, only launched about 2 months ago. It's pretty phenomenal. That way you can kind of thumb through it as you have it. And it's not paper, but it is absolutely an amazing resource for you to have. So with that being said, I thank you for your time, your presence, your participation. If I can be help to you, your organization, or your team, if we can turn around engagement, we can help employee retention. I believe in empowering the power of your people to help your organization succeed. Ron Klinger signing off for today's session. Thank you for participating. Until next time, see ya.